Hello, I'm Krista Cupp, and you're watching the NRA-ILA Grassroots News Minute for Friday, July 20th. As the UN Conference on the Arms Trade Treaty enters its third week of negotiations, the NRA Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre addressed the conference and made the position of the NRA and American gun owners clear, that no treaty that includes civilian arms is acceptable. Gun owners must understand the true threat this treaty poses and also the actions that are required for the treaty to have force in the U.S. The treaty poses a very real threat, and gun owners can maximize our efforts to prevent ratification of the treaty by understanding those threats. We've had many members inquire about the treaty these past weeks, and here are answers to some common questions about the treaty's process. When will the treaty be signed? The UN will finish drafting the Arms Trade Treaty later this month. It will then be sent to the UN General Assembly for approval. After General Assembly approval, likely this fall, many member states are expected to immediately sign on. But there is no deadline for doing so. No date for signing has been set, and the treaty does not need any particular number of signatories to pass. However, for political reasons, President Obama might choose not to sign it immediately while facing re-election. Also, even if the president were to sign the treaty right away, he is not required to send the treaty to the Senate for ratification at any specific time, nor is there usually any deadline for ratification. What will be the treaty's effects? Treaty advocates falsely claim that the treaty will have no impact on national gun laws. Proponents have repeatedly called for the treaty to cover civilian arms and to require national systems of licensing, registration, and other restrictions. The threat to our Second Amendment rights posed by the treaty are real, but the process for ratifying the treaty gives gun owners the time and the ability to block ratification if we take action to hold our elected officials accountable. What force would the treaty have under U.S. law if the Senate ratified it? A treaty could have a severe effect, as described, but it would not override the Constitution. Treaties have the same legal standing as laws passed by Congress. They cannot override the Constitution, and they are subject to constitutional challenge. However, they can override statutes passed prior to ratification of the treaty. Can the president bypass the ratification process? Well, strictly speaking, the answer is no. But an anti-gun administration could still try to use the treaty to impose gun control in the United States. Even if the Senate defeats any effort to ratify the treaty, anti-gun activists in the administration could argue that under customary international law, the U.S. must implement the treaty's restrictions as not to violate its object and purpose. Again, NRA will continue to fight the UN treaty on behalf of the rights of all Americans and will continue to keep our members updated. For more important information and ongoing developments, please be sure to visit our website at www.nraila.org.
This present effort for an arms trade treaty, or ATT, is now in its fifth year. We have closely monitored this process with increasing concern. We've watched and we've read, listened and monitored. Now we must speak out. The right to keep and bear arms in defense of self, family, and country is ultimately self-evident and is part of the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution. Reduced to its core, it is about fundamental individual freedom, human worth, and self-destiny. We reject the notion that American gun owners must accept any lesser amount of freedom in order to be accepted among the international community. Our founding fathers long ago rejected that notion and forged our great nation on the principle of freedom for the individual citizen, not for the government.